Good morning. This past weekend was the Memorial Golf Tournament. It's a great golf tournament. It's hosted by Jack Nicklaus every year up in Dublin, Ohio. It's one of the biggest tournaments of the year for the players outside of the major championships, the four majors. The Memorial has to rank way up there as one of the better tournaments that the players get excited about. Well, this last weekend, it was really interesting to watch what happened. All weekend long, they were fighting the different rain conditions there in Ohio, and so they were struggling just about every day trying to get all the rounds played before the rain was coming in. Turned out that on Friday, the rains ended up coming in and it cut the day short. They weren't able to finish all of the second round. And so a number of the players had to come back early on Saturday morning to finish their second round and then turn right back around in the afternoon and play their third round so that they would keep things on track to be able to play the final round on Sunday. Well, one of those players that was having to come back early Saturday morning to finish his second round was Jon Rahm. Now, when Jon Ron came out on Saturday morning, he was on fire. He finished his second round by shooting a 7-under par 65, and that included shooting a hole-in-one on the 16th hole there Saturday morning of his second round. Now, he was on fire. He was feeling it. He carried that into the afternoon for his third round, followed up his 7-under par 65 with an 8-under par 64 for his third round. Jon Rahm was on such fire on Saturday that by the end of the day, at the end of 54 holes, the end of the third round, going into the final round, he was at 18 under par. That tied a tournament record for the end of 54 holes, the end of 3 rounds, with a guy you might have heard of before named Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was at 18 under par back in the year 2000 at the Memorial Golf Tournament. At 18 under par, he was 6 strokes ahead of second place. That too tied a record that was set back in 1987 by Scott Hoch. Now, Jon Rahm was having one of the rounds, one of the tournaments of his entire career. He was playing incredible golf. But as he came off the 18th green at the end of his third round, there were some of the PGA Tour officials that were there to greet him, as well as one of the medical officials. And they informed him that he had taken a COVID test earlier that morning, and his results had just come in as he was coming up the 18th fairway, and he had tested positive for COVID. It turned out that they had discovered that he had been in close contact with somebody else who had come down with COVID, and so their protocols required that he get tested every day for the past week. His tests had been coming up negative, but finally on Saturday, he had taken his test and it came back positive. And according to the PGA Tour rules and their guidelines, that meant that he was going to be required to withdraw from the tournament and he would not get to play the final round. In the end, with a 6-shot lead going into the final round, it's almost certain that he would have won the tournament. But because he had to withdraw, not only did he not win the tournament, but he also lost the nearly $1.7 million that he would have earned if he had won the tournament. Afterwards, Jon Rahm put out a statement on Twitter. In a portion of his statement, he said, "This is one of those things that happens in life. One of those moments where how we respond to a setback defines us as people." I thought about that. That really is life. We all experience setbacks in life. It's not whether we will get setbacks or whether we will experience difficult times. It's how we choose to respond when those setbacks come. That was the decision that the disciples of Jesus Christ had to make after the resurrection. Their worlds had been turned upside down with the crucifixion. They watched their rabbi, their teacher, their Lord get crucified. And everything had changed in an instant. Talk about a setback. But from that moment on, they had to make a fundamental decision of how they would respond to that setback. There was the temptation to go back to the easy life, the life that was comfortable, the life that they had always known. But in the end, it was their decision to go out into the world, to risk, to get out there and to do something, to spread the gospel that would change the world forever and start the early church. You and I are going to experience setbacks in life in all kinds of different ways. But just remember that the setback isn't what defines you. It's how we respond to that setback that will determine the course of the rest of our lives. Thank goodness for the gift of God's grace, that the setback doesn't have to be the end of the story. I hope you have a great day.